As a developing leader in the Air Force environment, you will encounter followers, peers, and leaders from multiple backgrounds and cultures. Your success as a leader depends on not only the ability to understand yourself, but how you interact with those around you. I'm Dr. Phil Arenas from the Leader Development course for Squadron Command here at Maxwell Air Force Base, Alabama, and I'm pleased to share this topic with you today. For the next 15 minutes or so, I want to help you understand Daniel Goleman's emotional intelligence model as it relates to your leadership choices. The Goleman Emotional Intelligence, or EI model, originated in his international best-selling book, Emotional Intelligence: Why It Can Matter More Than IQ, published back in 1995. It has been called a revolutionary, paradigm-shattering idea by the Harvard Business Review. Further, this book was named one of the 25 most influential business management books by Time magazine, which shaped leadership development over the last 2.5 decades. Continuing Goleman's work on emotional intelligence, Travis Bradbury and Gene Greaves have taken these principles and elevated their use through their own emotional intelligence survey, boasting over 500,000 participants in leadership, education, and business environments. Additionally, their best-selling book, Emotional Intelligence 2.0, which was published in 2009, is probably the most popular book available today on this topic. I'd like to share a few excerpts from an article that they wrote in 2016 that describes why EI is a major contributor to one's overall success. When EI first appeared in 1995, it served as the missing link in a particular finding. People with the highest levels of intelligence, or IQ, outperform those with an average IQ just 20% of the time, while people with average IQs outperform those with high IQs 70% of the time. This discovery was a major change in thinking. Researchers had always assumed that the sole source of success was IQ. These findings launched a new perspective for emotional intelligence as a critical factor. To distill this point further, what makes one person perform over another and what helps us predict job performance is the combination of one's ability to learn, or IQ, who that person is, or PQ, and how they handle themselves and others on the job, EQ. And for the purposes of this course today, we will use EQ and EI to refer to emotional intelligence. This next slide illustrates the Goleman EI model. As you can see, there are two areas of focus: the personal competence and the social competence, and their four associated components. Let's examine these closer. The personal competence is actually a reflection of you. Self-awareness is not about discovering deep, dark secrets of unconscious motivations, but it's based on a straightforward and honest understanding of what makes you tick. People high in self-awareness are very clear in their understanding of what they do, what motivates them, and which people or situations push their buttons. Whereas self-management is your ability to use your awareness to stay flexible and direct your behavior in a positive manner. Most importantly, this means managing your emotional reactions to situations and people. This area is more than just managing your explosive or problematic behavior. The challenge in this area is to manage your tendencies over time while applying new EI skills. One useful method to use in this component would be self-talk, whereby you use an inner voice as a warning against impending threats. For example, you might say to yourself, "Okay, you know she's going to push your buttons at this meeting. Stay cool. Direct the topic of conversation." Now let's turn to the social competence side. Social awareness is your ability to pick up on emotions in other people and understand what is really going on with them. This often means perceiving what other people are thinking and feeling, whether you agree or not. This first component of the phase ensures you stay focused and absorb critical signals, such as body language or gestures, maybe even voice tone. Listening and observing are the most important skills in this component. Relationship management is your ability to use your awareness of your own emotions and those of others to manage interactions successfully. This skill taps into your ability to use the first three emotional intelligence skills to help maintain self-control in any situation. This ensures clear communication and conflict management. Empathy is an excellent skill to hone in this component. When followers believe that you know how they feel, you are being genuine while practicing authentic leadership. Now that we have a good understanding of the EI model, it is time for a working definition of emotional intelligence. Let's use the one from Bradbury and Greaves. Your ability to recognize and understand emotions and your skill at using this awareness to manage yourself and your relationship with others. End quote. What about emotions? Do you think our emotions can influence physiological experiences? Actually, our emotions can affect our neuromuscular, cardiovascular, hormonal, and respiratory systems. Have you ever known anyone who ended up in the emergency room due to work stressors? High blood pressure, tightening of the chest, heart attack? These are just a few physiological examples of emotional stress. Emotions are actually intertwined to our thoughts and actions and have an impact on our relationship. The next slide illustrates some EI anatomy of the brain. The prefrontal cortex, sometimes referred to as the executive center of the brain, is the cerebral cortex, covering the front part of the frontal lobe. This region of the brain keeps us out of trouble. It controls our cognitive behavior, personality, decision-making, and judgment, also our social interaction. The amygdala is an almond-shaped set of neurons located deep in the medial temporal lobes of the brain. The amygdala is responsible for processing emotions such as anger, fear, sadness, and others, while also controlling aggression. Some situations or triggers can cause the amygdala to disable your prefrontal cortex, activating the fight or flight syndrome, sometimes called amygdala hijack. If you've ever witnessed this up close, it typically results in explosive behaviors, usually leading to trouble. Next, let's revisit the Goleman EI model, returning to the personal competence side. Self-awareness component is where we want to ask ourselves, can I accurately identify my own actions and tendencies as they occur? Nobody knows your triggers or blind spots better than you do. So please, in this component, be honest with yourself. Self-awareness allows you to understand your reactions, as well as handle stress, and provides an opportunity for you to make better choices. In the self-management component, ask yourself, can I manage my emotions and behaviors towards a positive outcome? This is where you want to understand your hot buttons and adjust accordingly. This component allows you to adapt and handle change. It also allows you to take responsibility and prevent making any bad situations worse. As we enter the next phase of the EI model, the social competence, we are bringing others into the equation. Please note that unless you fully understand the first phase, it will be difficult to continue the second phase. In other words, if you don't have a grasp on your own blind spots or limitations, it will be challenging for you to interact with others effectively. In the social awareness area, ask yourself, can I accurately identify your emotions and tendencies as I interact with you or a group? This component allows you to see the whole picture, as well as understand others, deliberately improve communications, and seize opportunities. In the final component, relationship management, this is where you have the opportunity to forge positive and meaningful relationships with your followers, peers, and supervisors. If a leader is unable to connect with followers, their influence is limited. Ask yourself, can I manage the interactions that I have with others constructively to a positive outcome? This component allows you to inspire others, build trust, and help with influence decisions in people, while enjoying deeper connections with others. In the book Emotional Intelligence 2.0, the authors spend most of their time on 66 strategies to help improve our emotional intelligence skills. These strategies are divided across all 4 components. Don't worry, I won't cover all of them today. However, I will highlight a few of these strategies from each component and allow you to explore the rest of them on your own. However, I would like to share one tip with you that I learned from my EI certification program regarding these strategies. I suggest you go through the list under each component and select 3 strategies that resonate with you or that you feel you would like to work on. What you will end up with is an EQ action plan. You would be amazed at your EI confidence level after considering these 12 strategies throughout your normal day. Let's now turn to the list of self-awareness strategies. The following strategies resonate with me. Know who or what pushes your buttons. We all have different personalities. Our values are different, our backgrounds. Sooner or later, we will encounter someone that rubs us the wrong way or says something that may elevate our blood pressure. Make a list of these triggers, including people, while describing your reactions. Having this awareness may prevent a future conflict. Seek feedback is another strategy that I value from my circle of trust. We all have blinders, and feedback is one way to hold us accountable for our behaviors. Another strategy from this component that I will value is get to know yourself under stress. As another introspective tool to keep me in check, I may even need an internal warning system to keep me from overloading myself or overreacting to certain situations. Switching to self-management strategies, here are my favorite choices from this list. Count to 10. I've been using this one for most of my life, so much that sometimes I will actually use my outer voice. It's a way to keep me from reacting on blind impulses or emotional triggers. Sleep on it is another strategy that I learned early in my career as a means to cool down, consider all possibilities, and not to make any emotional decisions too soon. The last strategy in this area that I like to work on is take control of your self-talk. When I catch myself using self-talk in a negative tone, I make an effort to stay positive to keep myself motivated. Next, let's switch to the social awareness strategies. Here are some of my preferences. Watch body language. This area is key to understanding social intelligence, or the ability to read the attitude of the room. Also, this skill can hone your observation skills. Practicing empathy, the ability to understand how someone is feeling about a situation, is when you step into their shoes. When you catch the mood of the room, you may be utilizing body language skills as outlined previously, but again, you are fine-tuning your social intelligence acumen. Lastly, the relationship management strategies can solidify those connections with others. I chose the following. Take feedback well. This area can be difficult for many of us. Try not to take it personal, especially if the feedback is constructive. Listen carefully, ask clarifying questions, and be sure to thank the person for their input. A genuine communication approach is showing someone that you care about their contributions or well-being. This describes when you care, show it. Here at LDC, we practice this strategy through personal recognition and thank you cards. Acknowledging the other person's feelings is another way of showing that you care. For leaders, the ability to connect at this level not only builds trust, but it strengthens your relationship, once again increasing your influence as a leader. I encourage you to revisit these 66 strategies to improve your emotional intelligence skills, providing one more way to make meaningful connections with your airmen. Here are some last tips on developing your EI skills. Number 1, focus on weaknesses and strengths. Only you know your strengths and blind spots. Number 2, do not do it alone. We cannot learn in a vacuum. Number 3, practice across different settings. All of these skills are applicable not only at home, but at work. And finally, number 4, solicit feedback. All of us need to know what it's like to be on the other side of our leadership. Hopefully, you now have a better understanding of the Goleman EI model and how it will enhance your EI skills. The connectivity provided through this model will help you build trust while influencing airmen. Remember, without influence, a leader is missing